Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. I've been getting some spikes in this area, spikes and blooms. This one is a first time bloomer. I bought this from Most Garden as a seedling at I think I got it like maybe 4 years ago. It's blooming for me for the first time and I'm grateful. I'm excited. So it's the Vanda J. Mullen, Dear J, Vanda Tessellata times Vanda Utstii. So here it is, guys. Look at the purple lips and the dainty yellow. It's a dainty dainty spike, guys. And it's the first time, so I'm just hoping as it get to be a much more mature blooming plant, you know, I'll have more spikes coming out of it. Very dainty. I'm loving it. Love it, love it, love it. This area is so perfumed, guys. All these fragrance blooms that are here. Some of these plants, guys, the birds, they have a way of getting into it and picking off the tags. This one is still there. That's a Vanda Mimipalma times Vanda Tessellata. Very fragrance. There she is, blooming all the way up there. This one I think I shared with you before is the Vanda Mushiana, the Vanda Mashima Lime times Tessellata times Vinipalma. Still going, guys. Quite a lot of spikes waiting to just open, waiting to open. Spikes. It's that time, guys, that time of the year when they're just enjoying the sun. I think this is another Vanda Mimipalma times Tessellata. There's a spike up there as well. Lots of spikes all coming out. You have to be lucky to get your orchids to be blooming at the same time, right? That's why they say they support each other. There's a blooming season for some, and then while some are in the resting stage, then the others will just bloom and make the garden pretty and beautiful. And this is my my Vanda Talon times Tessellata times Mimipalma. This is the one I told you smells so much like a bubblegum flavor. So I have two of the I'm sure I got 3 plants. I can't find the other one. I don't know if I gave it away, but this is it. Both of them are in spike, guys. That's beautiful. And they're giving me kikis. They're baby plants coming up. But I never usually like to separate my baby plants. I like to see a full display like this one. I have three kikis on there. I like to keep them the way they are. Don't like to separate. That's my pick. Whenever I go, I like to pick the ones with the kikis. Yeah. This one, I don't know when I'm gonna get bloom. I hope pretty soon. I think what happened, it was producing so many kikis. There's a mother plant and 8 kikis on this plant. So, you know, I think it was going through a period where it was just, look at those roots. Look at those roots. The roots are healthy, and it was producing a lot of baby plants. So I would imagine it was going through a growth period. So I'm hoping it will slow down. Not that I don't encourage or welcome the baby plants, but I'm just hoping that it will start giving me some blooms, that these kikis and the mother plant will start giving me some beautiful blooms. Sun is coming out, guys. It's the morning sun coming from the east side. This is how they tell you certain plants, when you check out their growth method, they'll tell you make sure they're facing the east, where they get the morning sun. So that's when you come in your backyard or wherever your garden is, and you figure out, where am I getting the east, which section in the garden is getting the sun in the mornings and in the afternoon and midday. That's important when you're doing your gardening. And you know, there are certain plants that require morning and afternoon sun, like like the grammatophyllums. They love the morning and afternoon sun. So you figure out, not just say that and put the plants and say, oh, they're gonna get sun. You get in your garden and you figure out how am I gonna place these so the sun, the morning and afternoon sun, is more effective on these plants. That's how you do your gardening. And especially for the grammatophyllums, I'm using those as an example. They bloom once a year, and wouldn't you want to capture that yearly bloom? Yes, because those plants, they take a lot of feed, they take a lot of fertilizers, they take a lot of watering, so they're highly maintained. So you would want to capture as much blooms as you can possible. And so you check out what are the needs of these plants, and you'll see, okay, they love the morning sun and the afternoon sun. So you have to put them at a spot in the garden that gets both the morning and afternoon sun. And you know, you work with that, and then you go from that with your maintaining, your watering, and your how you fertilize. So you have to look at those things and see. It's not just putting fertilizer, or you ask, it's not just saying, oh, I water twice a week, I water every day. You have to figure out the blooming season, what is the lighting requirements, what else does it take, and then you do your work. And then, you know, at that time of the year, you should be getting your blooms with all things possible. You know, some of these vandas, the roots, I maintain the roots. You see how well the roots are. But then you have to understand that you're not going to see a lot of blooms possible, because I get a variety of vandas. I try to get rare vandas. I try to get regular vandas that you get in the store, you see all the time. So with that variety, there's some vandas, they bloom 3 times a year, but it's not always the same time. And there's some vandas, they bloom just once a year, a certain time of the year. So, you know, that's how they complement each other, where they, you know, some will be blooming, some will be in their growth period, some will be in their resting period. So you have to know that too. And it is important to know their phases, because with me, if a plant is not ready to bloom, I will not use a bloom booster. If it is not time for it to go through certain phase, I will not force it to do that. Like this vanda, it's blooming now, so I'm getting ready to pluck the dried blooms so it can look attractive. But once all those blooms and the spike is faded, I will not be infusing anything in it for it to just bloom. I'll give it its rest period, I'll nurture it, I'll give it its fertilizer, and I will give it things to enhance growth. And some of the things I use to enhance the growth, I use the Sevens, even though they say it's not, you know, but it does that. And you know what, check and see what you use. What is it for? Is it going to help to energize growth? Is it going to help to energize blooms? So you don't want to be stressing the plant too much to be always blooming, blooming, blooming. The plant needs to be healthy. And doing so, you need to figure out your fertilizing method, your fungicidal treatment, and all that good stuff. The plant needs that. So when it's blooming, you will get some big blooms out of it. And when I say big blooms, it doesn't mean that, like for a baby, for example, the fact that this is not giving me big blooms, it does not mean that it is not healthy. Then you have to think again. This is a baby plant. You know, I got it as a seedling, and this is the first bloom it is producing. So it's not necessarily going to be a big bloom, a big spike like that. And plus, this is a dainty this vanda gives dainty blooms, so I'm not going to get a lot of spikes necessary from it, because it's the first time blooming, and it is still a baby plant. So it's not just having, sometimes you get lucky given your area. Your area may just give you everything, most of what you need to have good orchids, good roots. The weather may be like that, may be good with you. You know, climatic conditions may be good. But, you know, you still have to know which one is blooming in the spring, which one blooms in the summer. And you work with that, because you don't want to be fussing at the plants and just giving it, oh, my plant is not doing this, it's not doing that. You have to check with your plants. You have to figure out, you know, what's going on with my plants. Does my plant need a fungicidal treatment? What is it that my plant needs? What is it that it is telling me? And most of the time, your vandas, my apart from looking at it to detect what the plant needs, I use my roots. My roots tell me what's going on with my plant. And while I'm doing that, I have to analyze this. It's not just looking at it. Like I explained to you, during the colder season, my roots don't get damaged per se, but the end tips, they tend to be dry because they don't like the cold. They don't like that cold nip. I'm in South Florida, and the weather is conducive, yeah, but at the same time, there are times when we get that cold weather, so the end tips tend to be dried at times. So they're coming back. You could see these, they're coming back. The tips are coming back. So this is the time of the year when I expect to see the roots start looking like this, with the tips coming. The tips should be green at the end. At the tip of it, the roots should be green. See all that green coming up here in this one? See all the little tips? See, getting green all over again. That's what I should be seeing. And if I'm not seeing that, I'm gonna be treating it with whatever I use for my growth, and give it some magnesium and all of that stuff, all of that good stuff. And guys, you don't have to, I'm not saying you shouldn't support or do the expensive stuff. There are things that you could use from your kitchen cupboard to help to fertilize and energize these plants. For example, I use molasses for my magnesium. I use all kind of stuff. If I, for my blooming, for me, I'll demonstrate my my homemade fertilizers that I use in a video coming up in the summer. I use a light mixture of molasses, for my magnesium for growth, and I use MSG when I think the blooming season is coming for. That's why I say you should know your plant so you know when you could infuse a bloom booster. So a lot of things, I'm not saying it works for everyone, but a lot of things you don't have to necessarily, if you don't have access to the big popular names that people will tell you that they use for their orchids. There are things you could find in your cupboard, in your household. For example, plants that have that purple look, we call it that purple, where you see the leaves start looking purple or the roots have that purple look. We call it the purple ring. You treat that with Epsom salt. You mix the Epsom salt, a tablespoon per gallon, and you keep spraying that daily until that purple ring disappear. And it will. Just keep doing that. That's another fun project I'll be doing in the summer. So you have to know your plants. It's not just planting, and it's not just growing an orchid because you like the blooms. When the blooms are faded, you have to love that plant too. So you got to maintain and make everything look attractive. You have to make sure that it looks healthy so you could love what you're looking at while you're waiting the beautiful blooms. So you don't get discouraged. The plant needs to be nurtured. Plant needs to be nurtured while you're waiting for those beautiful blooms. So guys, thanks once again for the Sunday chat. Have a beautiful day, and thank you for growing with my channel.